Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Erickson and this is my land acknowledgement. How I came to be on this land. When looking on how I came to be on Treaty 1 land, I must examine both sides of my family. My father's side, my and Avi, so grandparents in Icelandic, moved from Iceland in the 1930s. During this time in Iceland, people were very poor and immigration to the Interlake in Manitoba was common. Many promises were made for those who came to Canada from Iceland. These promises included free land, a horse, 2 cows, and a small amount of money. Below are some photos of my travels to Iceland. The first one is a waterfall near a homestead. Second one is my cousin from Iceland. My third is from the port where my grandparents set off on their voyage to Canada. And the last one is my family's homestead in Iceland. My mother's side. Well, my mother's side is about as Canadian as they can get. In fact, there is a book titled that. My mom is a Métis woman from the Interlake, and her side of the family can be traced back to Canada as far as records can go, really up to the 1500s is what I found so far. Connections to the land. I have multiple connections to the land. So when examining my social location and how I came to be here, I look at especially my dad's side since he immigrated here. And what I didn't know before attending this class and diving into my own personal history is that Icelandic people, when they moved to Canada, were only allowed to move to specific areas of Manitoba. Hence why you see so many Icelandic settlements like Gimli and Lundar. So my dad moved to Lundar and happened to be by Lake Manitoba Reserve, and that's where my mom's from. These photos are where my mom grew up on the reserve. The one to the left is me kayaking on Lake Manitoba. The middle is the house that she grew up on, and the end there is the house that she grew up in. Um, when looking at each side, you can see that my mom's side was quite poor and fell victims to oppression. My dad's side, however, really succeeded in Canada. They had a very successful construction company and farming and did quite well for themselves. I never really looked into it much until attending this class, and now I can see that it kind of has everything to do with race. My great grandma's a residential school survivor. My grandma could not attend school on the reserve or in or a white school because she was neither full Aboriginal or full white, being that Métis was kind of half and half, and so that resulted in her not getting an education and getting low income jobs, which more or less affected my mom's upbringing and made it really hard for her. Self identity. Um, Before this class, I really knew nothing about myself, and from the first class, I started really diving into who I was as a person. I knew all about my Icelandic side because we were all very proud of it, and my dad talks nonstop about it. But didn't really know much about my Métis side. So I went to the St. Boniface Museum and did some digging and made some phone calls and found out some really cool information about my Indigenous side. The photo of Louis Riel with all those men, the one circled there is my great 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 grandfather, and he was best friends with Louis Riel and helped the rebellion, which was super super cool. The rest of the photos here just kind of are who I am. There's my daughter, the house I grew up in, my siblings, my husband and I, and the Métis flag, which I am proud to fly now that I know so much about my heritage. Learning about who am I from this course, I could really reflect to a lot of the speakers and to some of the readings we did about people not really knowing who they were or self identity because of, let's say, like the 60s scoop that we learned about. They didn't really know who they were. They didn't know where they came from or anything about themselves. And my experience was very different. I'm grew up in a very privileged home, but when you realize everything that your family's been through and no one talks about it, it just kind of hit me. It was really interesting to learn about, and it caused some questions about who I am and where I came from, and definitely made life a little challenging and made me quiz just about everyone in my family and wanting to know information. Um, some really cool things that I got to learn because of this course was, tracing back who I am. Um, we could trace back to Margaret Taylor, and she's in almost all the, Canadian history books, the Canadian Encyclopedia, and she was married to the founder of the Hudson's Bay Company, and that was, a very very late grandmother of mine. And then, you know, also looking at, I got to view my grandparents' script, and that was super interesting. And for those who don't know what Métis script is, it's when basically our land was just taken from us. We were given a piece of paper promising us all these types of things, and of course we signed off on it, and we couldn't speak English. We didn't know what we were signing, and it resulted in them just coming and taking your land and us being displaced people. So, and I believe that finding out who I was and learning all this has really made me a better person and will help me a lot in my professional career, because I can relate and understand what people are going through, not to the same extent, because like I said, I have lived a very privileged life, but I think it's nice. In order to make change, you have to know the history of why things are the way they are and your place in it, and that's really exciting. Um, it also helped me be a better mom and realize that, you know, I want to incorporate every aspect of my heritage to my daughter, not just my Scandinavian side, but also my Indigenous side, which is just as equally important. For reconciliation, I've been very busy. For those of you who are not in my anti-oppression class, I'll explain what I'm doing. Um, the pictures here are of a former Indian hospital in Selkirk. Indian hospitals, I had no idea were a thing. I didn't know Canada segregated hospitals, and it was disturbing to learn about. The only reason I knew this is because the daycare I used to work at is actually attached to the former Indian hospital, and we'd always have elders come in and smudge and, you know, come in and do traditional things, and I had no idea why. And so I finally asked him, and he said, it's for all the spirits of people who died in this hospital and are probably still here and never got sent home. And that just kind of really blew my mind that this is happening, and it's a daycare now and no one knows about it. So for my social justice paper and my social movement paper, sorry, I wanted to try to do a plaque, something to, you know, for people to remember what happened here, because you just drive by that building now and no one knows what it is. So luckily, the Manitoba government replied to me and I got the funding. And instead of just making any plaque, I wanted it to be kind of like a community thing. So I'm gonna launch an art contest and allow Indigenous youth artists to come together and make a plaque to what they think is appropriate to put on this land to remember everyone who, you know, was forced to come to these hospitals and who never made it home. So that's my project right now, and I'm super, super excited about it because I think it's going in a really good direction. Reflecting on this course, I think the one thing that I can really take away is learning about the missing and murdered Indigenous women. This was something I learned about, I didn't know, heard about in the news growing up and everything like that, but it never really sunk in until this class, and I'm not sure why. I feel like it's very brushed over, and it's uh, it's definitely impacted me in a way I never thought it would. I wrote my social justice paper on it, and it just, hearing the statistics and hearing the stories, it's just something that I will always take with me places. And now that I have that education, I'm sharing with my neighbors, the grocery store clerk, like absolutely everyone, because people need to know what's going on. And it's really sparked an interest in where I want to pursue my career. And I definitely think going into the murdered and missing Indigenous women aspect of social work is where I would probably find myself. Another notable learning experience from the class, I will have to say, was probably like attending the sweat lodge. I attended a sweat lodge when I was very young, and I don't remember a lot, but this time was different. It was really interesting to see how everyone just really welcomed us in, and it was it was beautiful. And I can't wait to continue to do those types of things and try to get other people in my family to keep doing those things. And it was really awesome, and I'm just happy I got to do that. And I believe it'll make me a better social worker. So that's my presentation. Um, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and thank you for the great semester. And I want to say Conda Sile, that's goodbye in Icelandic, and Miigwech. Merry Christmas, everyone.